Hello dear viewers, today I'm going to talk about Ghost Recon Wildlands. I was actually looking forward to this game for a while, but it seemed a bit too expensive at first, and then I kind of forgot about it and played it much later. This review has been long overdue since I've had recorded material for a while, but I've been quite lazy in pushing it away in favor of other games, and it seems like now is the right time for me to talk about it. So without further ado, let's delve into this game and start with the negatives as always. One of the first things that I noticed about the game is the fact that it's very repetitive and there's no way around it. Unfortunately, if you want to play this game, you have to be ready to do a lot of similar missions, and the ones that are not so similar, namely the story missions, end up really being part of the same system. You're gonna be having some driveway to the mission, then you're gonna have to kill someone or interrogate someone. You either have to be stealthy the whole time or you can choose to be. Unfortunately, even the leveling up is not that simple. You see, when you level up, you still need a certain amount of certain points, and in order to get these points, you need to do special missions, each type of mission giving you a special type of points, whether it's medicine that you're gathering, it's fuel, it's intel, etc. Even the weapons that you upgrade and that you find, you're going to have to go to specific locations, examine some evidence, and then you're gonna get more and more spots on your map that you can visit. So everything's very repetitive. You gotta be ready to do that. It's not as extreme as an MMORPG, but it got so extreme that my girlfriend, who was playing with me until then, decided she's had enough of the game, and that was fairly soon. That was maybe 10 hours in. She decides she doesn't want to do it anymore. As I've mentioned, even if you level up, you still cannot level up your skills unless you have a certain amount of certain points. So even there, you're gonna have to really literally grind. And the grind, unfortunately, is always the same because the missions are literally the same. Go stop that convoy, go question that guy. It's literally always the same, and I am not exaggerating when I say that I probably did the convoy missions minimum 50 times. I'm not exaggerating. Another thing that you notice is that there are lots of bugs, and in some rare cases there are mission breaking ones. For example, an NPC which I had to catch fell under the map, so we couldn't reach him anymore. It was impossible. We had to reset the mission somehow, and this kind of stuff happens quite often. Some of it is very funny. You got the bugs that are there since the beta. Actually, I played the beta back then and I thought it was awesome, but even then we had the situation where sometimes someone will bug out, and as soon as he's piloting a helicopter, for example, the rotors will no longer be spinning, and also if he's in a car, it will look like he jumped out of the car and is running behind the car. These are the hilarious ones. They're okay, but then there are the ones that break your missions, and those are bad. Luckily, while the bugs are a lot, the game breaking bugs are very few, so this wasn't that much of an issue. But you have huge connectivity issues. Trying to connect with my girlfriend, who is playing on the PC right next to me, was an absolute hassle. It went so far, although we opened the ports, that we even had to go on her PC in the demilitarized zone setting that opens basically everything and disables all kinds of protections. I've never actually had so many problems playing a game like that on any of the other services such as Steam, Origin, etc. Even Uplay hasn't been this crazy as it is with this particular game. No idea what's up with that. Although Uplay's been always shit, I gotta be honest with you. Now moving on, the game itself is very power hungry. Be ready to have a strong computer if you want to play this with any normal frame rate. The game is beautiful, the maps are huge, and this is going to drain your PC like nobody's business. It's just awful when it comes to being power hungry. There's no way around it. You need a strong PC for this one. If you end up playing on your own, which happened with me because Sarah no longer wanted to play with me, the bots cannot drive or fly, and that sucks because that means you cannot experience some parts of the game. You see, for example, in the missions where you need to stop some kind of convoy, it's quite fun to get one of those choppers with miniguns on the side and kill the guys this way. Or if you're playing single player without any other guys, and this I can imagine happening very often because of the huge connectivity issues with people, then you're gonna have a hard time because you're gonna be the one actually driving all the vehicles, and you're gonna hope that the bots do what you want them to do, and they usually will not. The bots are okay when you have nobody else, but it is just so much more fun to have a second player to play with. The cars drive like boats, especially when you get off-road. I have no idea what happened there, but it feels like you're driving on the moon. They jump around like moon buggies. It's awful. They flip super easily. It's just crazy. It's so often that I'm chasing someone and my car flips or messes up somehow, and I lose the chase because of these weird car physics. Luckily, they have addressed some issues with the helicopters. The helicopters used to be horrible as well. They patched them now. it makes more sense, especially the shooting with helicopters. But the driving should feel solid, because in this game you drive so many vehicles that it just feels weird that they didn't pay more attention to the cars. Bikes are also suicide vehicles. An off-road bike is one of the worst things you can drive off-road, because you're gonna fly off that bike, crash into the ground and die. The next point I want to address is that enemy dialogue is very repetitive, especially when they first notice you. They say a phrase, I cannot quote it because my Spanish is just bad, but they say a certain phrase which they will repeat throughout the game every time. That's the first thing you hear, because you can hear their comms. They always have the same thing that they start with. You gotta imagine I have heard this message, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of times, because obviously I'm gonna try to play as stealthy as I can, but very often you're gonna get noticed by something or someone. As weird as it may be, sometimes it just doesn't feel like stealth works that well, although overall I would say stealth works well. But still, you're gonna get noticed many times. The game offers a lot to do. It's a ginormous sandbox, and you'll be noticed, and you'll have to hear the same message over and over. They didn't even bother to record a second version of it. It's just one. Another thing that I want to address is that the game does not have any Lan features, and that sucks. It sucks that nowadays we have to see these because of DRM, etc. Because that's the reason. And the perfect example is me and my girlfriend. Our PCs are next to each other. They are connected over a LAN connection as well, besides the internet connection which we used for this, because we can't play over LAN. Now imagine internet connection shit. You gotta take down your antivirus, you gotta turn off your firewalls, you gotta open all your ports, and ultimately in her case she has to go in DMZ mode. So that's just ridiculous. This is basically, you gotta lower all defenses your computer has if you want to play this game, and that's not good. If I had a LAN option, this would have been no issue at all. Oh, it doesn't work over Ubisoft, well screw that. Connect both PCs together and there you go, boom, works fine. And I don't see why this is not an option here. It's very sad that it's dying out with time, because this is still the best and safest way to play the game, any game actually, simply because you don't even need internet for this. If my internet's down, we can be next to each other, we cannot play. Not to mention that sometimes we would have latency issues. I don't know why, but sometimes she or me, I would have to go out, join her game, she would have to go out, join my game, just so the things fix themselves. So the servers are not doing a good job, and all of this would not be even an issue for people like us if there was LAN. So I'm not happy about that. When you play with the bots, you can actually mark people for execution with numbers, and then when you press a button, a timer counts down and the bots shoot, and you can shoot as well with them time it. That's such a cool feature. I have no idea why this feature does not seem to work in multiplayer with real people. Whenever I did this, I can mark people, but I can't activate a timer. The game actually wants us to physically count, and that's fine. We do that all the time as a matter of fact, but the counter wouldn't hurt, would still be nice to have it. Also, one of the skill trees that you get is absolutely useless in multiplayer. If you play in single player, yes, because it mostly specializes on making your AI companions stronger, making them resurrect you more often. If you play in multiplayer, almost no skills in there are useful for anything, because you're not playing with AI companions, you're playing with real ones. So it makes absolutely no sense for that to be there at all, and that just seems weird to me that they would make a whole segment, it's a huge segment of the skill tree that basically is useless to you if you play in multiplayer. And the game is designed to be played in co-op. It's not designed to be played with the bots. It works with the bots, but it's not as good, and I feel like they could have thought of something else that maybe helps in both cases. Another thing that I've noticed is that the world, for the size which it has too few animals. You'd think there'd be more animals there. There're just a few types of animals, and you almost never meet any of them. It's just barren most of the time, and I feel that there should have been more. It just doesn't feel as alive as it could be. Since the maps are so huge, your travel times are crazy long. At times I would literally look at something on the other end of the map and I would think to myself, alright, I gotta go there. A few missions will intentionally appear very far from your current position, and you would have to go there, and unless you steal a plane, because they are actually somewhat faster. If you take a helicopter, it's also okay, but it's dangerous because there are a lot of bases with AA defenses, so they will shoot you down, and that's even worse. But traveling by car is by far the worst way of traveling, and it takes so long to get from A to B, so the travel ways are way too long. Also, the game's design shows to me that it's designed to waste time. These travel times, these many repetitive tasks, even for the leveling, all of this is clear to me that they just really wanted to create a game that takes forever to complete. If you're a completionist like me, it's gonna take even longer, and that's not a very good game design. It should be somewhere in the middle. It would sound like I hated the game, but the fact of the matter is that I actually enjoyed it quite a lot. Although it has so many flaws, it has many good things. And one of the first things I've noticed is the good voice acting. Even if you play in co-op with another person, you're still going to hear all four of the characters, although they're never with you. If you play with a second person or third or fourth, you're always going to actually hear the NPCs talking as if they are with you, and they have funny conversations. The voice acting generally is really good. For example, my girlfriend has a female character. She can hear basically her female character talk, and I can hear my male character talk as the protagonist. So we each hear sort of what we want to hear. The game does not force one into a role and the other into a role. You're always the boss. You're always the main protagonist. So we each thought we are the protagonists, and that's good. That's a very good solution. The point that I want to address here that I'm really happy about is that this is a Ghost Recon game, and it's very tactical. You can be very stealthy, you can be very careful, and it is so satisfying to clean out a huge camp without raising any alarms. Usually we would play it in such a way that my girlfriend would snipe somewhere from afar, and I would go in and infiltrate from close. I would kill people, and that is so much fun. It's so satisfying, and when you get good and you get really well acclimated to each other's gameplay styles and you communicate well, it's such a great game. But it just gets boring if you play too many hours. It's best if you play it in relatively short bursts. Another thing that I really approve of, and that's something that I mentioned in the past, is the fact that the game is still being improved, and the game's pretty old at this point, yet not long ago it received the patch for the helicopters that I mentioned. There were other things patched as well, but the helicopter improvements are huge. You see, in the past, the helicopters, for example, had no crosshair. Aiming with the miniguns of the helicopter was basically a roll of the dice every time. It was just awful. Now they have fixed that. They have fixed the side gunners, and they have fixed the way the helicopters are controlled altogether, and it feels so much better. So they've made a huge improvement to one of the best ways of transporting you from A to B, and that is a very nice thing. I'm very happy about that, and it's good to see that they're still putting work into it. They haven't just said, okay, you know, we've got all the money we can get, screw this game now. That's great. Another advantage of this game is that you are going to learn to insult people in Spanish. It's a funny thing, but we both know now quite a few funny Spanish insults, and sometimes for fun we would call each other these names that we heard in the game, and they're just hilarious. So that's a plus for me. I think it's a win, so I thought I'd mention it. It's also awesome and kind of unexpected that there's a story here, and the story has very interesting characters. These characters that you catch and that you interrogate, they have backstories, they have motivations, they have behaviors, and they're very interesting. If you pay attention to the lore of the game, you might actually start to like some of these people. There's some really weird ones, there's some really greedy and bad ones, and then there are the ones that are kind of tragic villains. I approve of a good story, and there is a good story here, which is not usual for this kind of gameplay, so it's definitely great. Also, you have lots of weapons, attachments, and other such things that you can collect, which makes the game more diverse in that aspect and more fun. The zones, which are all over the map, are also very diverse. You got mountains, you got very dry lands, you got a salt desert, you got a snowy part, you got a lush jungles, and also your enemy types. You have several factions, and they are all very different and interesting, and they use different weapons, different vehicles, so this is done very well. I have mentioned that in this game you're gonna end up driving a lot of stuff, and you're gonna be using vehicles which fly, which go on land, which go on water, and there are lots of them, lots of different ones. Even though they don't control as well, some of them, as I've mentioned, have been fixed. The game itself has beautiful graphics, although power hungry. They are gorgeous to look at, and it's not something that you're gonna get bored with very soon, so that's also another great thing I want to add. And last but not least, you have two different endings, and the way these are designed is where it's really impressive for me, because these two endings, while being different, one of them being the bad ending, and you get that actually sooner. So after you have defeated a certain amount of the cartel, you can enter the last mission, you can do it, and you are going to get the bad ending. But afterwards, you continue to play, you can actually finish off the cartel completely and then replay the same mission and see the good ending, which is pretty nice. I like that they don't just tell you, okay, bad ending, start over. And not only that, once you've reached the maximum level, you can actually continue to level up in a special setting, making the game harder and giving you special rewards. I enjoyed the game. I am a huge fan of stealth, I'm a huge fan of co-op games, and I think that this game is actually a game that everyone should have played. It can be a lot of fun, it can get very tedious at some point, so just play it for as long as you have fun. All in all, it's a game that I can recommend. It's not the best game out there, but it is an excellent tactical stealth shooter from the third person perspective in a co-op mode. Thank you for watching and have a great day.